It's time for a special edition of the online dinner party, and glad to be here. Glad to be having this amazing conversation with amazing people, as we oftentimes do on the online dinner party. Had actually stepped outside earlier and was seeing that it was a lovely day. It's actually a little bit on the clear side and all along those lines. So it is definitely a good day, and maybe even a good day for some ice cream and all along those lines. Because I know that there are a number of places that you can get some great flavors, and there's one that's in the Raleigh area. Of course, I'm here in Durham, and I'm gonna have to find out from my guest today if you can actually get it through DoorDash, because I'm actually waiting for a DoorDash order from another restaurant, and all along those lines. So I'm not sure if this particular guest makes deliveries as far away as Durham or Chapel Hill, but we're about to find out. But it's definitely a good day here in Durham, North Carolina. And Alyssa McLean is actually based in Raleigh and has got an amazing store that is doing all kinds of great flavors. I saw that they had all these amazing flavors. I'm going like, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, I want them all, because they all look like they were extremely good and all along those lines. I'm definitely interested to learn more about Alyssa McLean and this amazing event that they've got going on this weekend, actually this Saturday. And I understand that it is being partially sponsored, or at least part of the African Americans that are in the technology field are involved in it as well. Because actually, a dear friend of mine had actually gotten in touch with me and told me about this particular event. And although there are a number of things going on at the Hayti Heritage Center, I'm gonna see if I can sneak away and maybe get to the event, even though it's there in Raleigh and all along those lines. But if I don't get there, maybe they will deliver. I don't know if they deliver through DoorDash or Grubhub or any of the other sources that folks sometimes go to get their food and all in that space. But I'm gonna bring Alyssa in, and we're gonna learn more about how she got involved in this business, her love of technology, and a number of other things that we're going to be talking about. But it's always good to have amazing guests on and all along those lines. I don't know about you, but I was actually, we had that rain a couple of days ago, so I was not enjoying the rain. But now that we've got sunny weather, and definitely it does not feel like it is February about to be March. It feels more like it's March about to be April, but this is
April.
literally leap day and everything and all in that space. So today is February 29th, and that only comes around once every 4 years and everything. I was actually joking with some folks. I'm like, so does that mean that if you were born in 64 and you're actually 60, that you are actually only 15, because you only get a birthday once every 4 years and all along those lines and everything. But I'm going like, I get they're only 50 years old, even though they might actually be 60. And some of my friends were like, no, Mark, that's silly. They just have to celebrate their birthday on the 28th or on March 1st
28.
or something like that. But definitely, Alyssa, glad to have you here. I've seen the interview with Ken, and I'd also seen y'all's really cool mascot, and maybe I'll play a video that y'all where like Scoop looks like Scoop just having way too much fun and all along those lines. So definitely sounds like Scoop is a very popular part of what is going on. But like I said, Nicole reached out to me. So I'm just wondering, how did the shop get associated with that organization? Because there is a number of folks, particularly in the triangles, that are in the technology field and all along those lines. So I did see that they were involved as well. And like I said, my longtime friend Nicole Maxwell had gotten in touch with me and told me about this particular event and everything. So just wondering, how did y'all tag team with, I think it's called Blacks in Technology, here in the Research Triangle Park and everything? And definitely tell me more about your love of ice cream, because earlier when we were backstage, you were telling me that you had grown up in New York, and I'm going like, well, maybe she was the one that was pulling the fire hoses and then going and grabbing the ice cream after the fact and all along those lines. But I wasn't 100% sure. So I guess we'll start with a little bit of the technology, but also your love of ice cream and everything along those lines. So I've got all kinds of questions.
Well, hi, Mark. Thanks for having me on, first and foremost. But I got in touch with Black in Technology because our shop normally does what we call Spirit Nights,
Mhm.
where we host either schools or organizations that's wanting to raise money for their either their PTA or whatever cause that they have. And so one of the things that the shop is known for is Spirit Nights, which we have hosted dozens and dozens of those since we've been opened. So that's how we met. A young lady that is involved with Black in Technology. She normally comes in the shop, I would say, once a week with her kids. And with her daughter and her friend's daughter, and they always get ice cream. And so she knew of the Spirit Night, and she took it back to the, I guess, the board of Black in Technology, and that's how we became acquainted. They started to do events with us to raise funds, and they've done it several times with us. So that's how we became acquainted with each other.
Oh wow, that's amazing and everything that y'all became acquainted that way and all of those lines. You mentioned that young lady that is getting the ice cream regularly and everything, and I am hearing an accent, but I was wondering where when did you discover a love of ice cream, and are you a native person of America? Because I'm hearing an accent, and I know that it's probably from one of the African continents, but I'm not sure which one it is because I wasn't able to pick that up and all along those lines. But I just wondered a little bit about your own history and your own love of ice cream.
So I was actually born in Trinidad, and so I came to New York at a very tender age, and I actually landed in Brooklyn through JFK. So my aunt lived in Brooklyn at the time. I have two aunts that live in Brooklyn, and they're still there. One of them is still there. So I actually came and I stayed with them because I left my family back in Trinidad, and I came to live with my aunt and completed school here. So I was in the East New York area, and it's so funny that we talk about ice cream. So um, I don't know if you growing up. I don't know what part of the country you grew up, but in East New York for the summer, all the kids would get on the front stoop and they'll be playing hopscotch and double dutch, and then here come the fire extinguisher will be gushing water, and here comes the ice cream truck with the familiar sound, and everybody would scamper upstairs for some money to buy ice cream cone or what have you. So I remember those days very well. But yes,
No, I
um,
definitely remember those days well myself and everything. I actually was born here in Durham, North Carolina, but was raised in a little small town called Warrenton. And yes, even now that I'm back in Durham, I can tell you that even in this apartment complex, that I will not be surprised if later on this afternoon, even while we're doing this show, if the ice cream truck doesn't come by, because I know that I will sometimes hear that familiar sound of an ice
so
cream truck
yeah.
and all along those lines. And definitely I do remember as a kid loving to try to scrounge up some change and get the ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
even if it was in a rural town, because the town I grew up in was very rural and all along those lines. But yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I think that ice cream truck story is a narrative that many people can relate to, whether they are from the country or from the city, like around Brooklyn and all along
Yeah.
those lines. When did you decide? Because I know that there's you and there's a couple of other folks. I did mention Scoop, the mascot, earlier, but I did see a couple of pictures. So I do know that it is a team of folks that are involved with flavor and everything in that space. I was just wondering, at what point did you know that you wanted to start this kind of business, and how did you get involved in this business? Because it does seem like it is a partnership, and I'm not sure if it's you. And I think that there are other family members. It might even be a husband in the picture, and definitely I've seen some friends that are there as well. So I was just wondering how many
It's
folks are involved.
Well, definitely. I mean, to run a business is almost like it takes a village to raise a child. So to run a business, I feel like it's the same way. It takes a village. But the Scoops is a customer. We met her when we first opened. The last 3 years, they've been coming in. Their family have been coming in, and we just got to know them really well. And she volunteered to be Scoops. So we've made some really, really good friendships, really great friendships over the last 3 years. Black in Technology is one, Scoops is and her family is one, and there's so many others. But for ice cream, for me, who doesn't love ice cream, right? And
Right.
so my journey actually started with my husband, now husband. Before we were friends, and we lived in Southport. Don't know if you're familiar with Southport area in North
Mhm.
Carolina. It's a little quaint town, past Wilmington,
Right.
a little past Wilmington and Leland. So I lived there for quite a number of years. I raised my kids there. before heading to Raleigh. So I was diagnosed with a brain tumor
Oh, well.
prior to coming to North Carolina to live. And I was out of work for a little while, and so didn't have health insurance. And without that health insurance, I was supposed to have MRIs every 6 months, and it kind of got out of hand while I didn't have insurance. So by the time I got work again, and this isn't a span, we're talking about a span of a year without health insurance and getting health insurance again. I went to the doctor and found out that it had progressed. It had gotten really bad, and they had given me about 6 months to live with it if I didn't have emergency brain surgery. So I'm finding that out and trying to go through the process because I had to have brain surgery within the span of weeks, right? So I have 3 young kids at this point in time, and so everybody's banding together, like my kids' friends, parents, and that were good friends because they were all on football teams and basketball teams. So I've gotten to know a number of parents, so they all came together to support me. And one of the things that they did was take the kids out for me. And so they would take them out, they would get ice cream. And then in Southport, there's a little shop right before the waterfront that everybody used to, like in the summer. That little shop is so busy. You meet all kinds of people at that little ice cream shop. And I mean, little shop. And you meet so many people, you make friends, you meet old friends, you just hang out, you laugh. And so that was the spot. And then there was a DQ on Oak Island, which is like 5 minutes from where we lived. And so we would go to there. That's how kind of ice cream played a role in all of this. And it was just really, we talked about it before. I even knew that I had to have emergency surgery. My husband back then, best friend, and he was like, this is something, it was an inspiration. And I love people, and we always talked about, he always like, you need to look into this thing, maybe you need to open another one because that's the only one. And we talked about it several times, but just never happened. And then with everything going on, ice cream became the go-to to just kind of get away from the reality of what was going on. And so ice cream became a part of our lives. And then I came to North Carolina, and one of the things my pastor, which I call my family, I call them my mom and dad, because they're the ones that I got to have a really good relationship with them. We built this strong relationship. We had a relationship, but it became even stronger after I had surgery, because they moved into my house to take care of me for a good almost 8 to 10 months. And so that relationship and that bond, it got even stronger. And he loves ice cream. He would eat ice cream any day. Like, come on, let's go for ice cream. So they would, we would just all pile up in the car and go for ice cream. So ice cream has just been a relief for us, a joy to us in the times when it wasn't the best of times. And I just loved how it brought the community and the people together. And so once I was here and everything had settled and my boys were out of school and everything, it started to resurface again. And it's like, maybe now is the time. So spoke to my husband.
Sounds like it's very much the time, and it sounds like you're running it along with it. Sounds like you're having the support, and maybe he's a business partner as well that love a partnership with your husband and all along those lines and everything. But I do know that at least here in Durham, there are at least 3 or 4 very popular ice cream shops, and all along those lines. So I was just wondering, is the market overcrowded? And if it's not overcrowded, how do you differentiate and make yourself separate? Because of course there are the big chains like the Baskin Robbins and things along those lines, but then I know here in Durham we've got Parlor and Loco and a couple of other ones. I think there's even a Jenny's, which might be a chain as well.
Yeah.
I just wondering, how do you make it so that you can differentiate yourself and be successful? Because it does seem like y'all are very successful, and we do know that location is important. So y'all seem like y'all are in a great location and all along those lines. But I'm just wondering, how do you make it so that you have the kind of success that you are having and all along those lines?
So when we first opened, we opened the the end of COVID. I want to say towards the end of COVID in January of 2021, and it was very, very slow. And I actually had an influencer, and didn't know at the time that he's a very popular influencer now, but at the time he was just starting off. And they had just built a gas station right on top of the hill where we are. And he saw the ice cream shop and he came in and he's like, let's do something, he's like, let me help you do something to get this off the ground, because we were in March and it was super slow. And so he stepped in and we started to put ideas together and everything. And one of the things that we came up with was, I don't know if you heard of them, but the Monster Shakes. Now, if you go online, you'll see pictures on the website of the shakes that we do. And we started offering these shakes in a glass jar, 16-ounce glass jar. And it was filled with different flavor milkshake. And then we would top it with crazy stuff like cheesecake and all these different things you can think. We made one with donuts, and then there was one with a pecan pie, and it was just outrageous and crazy. And he started posting them on my Facebook, on my social media, and people just went crazy. Within a matter of less than a week, we had so many people show up to the store. I have pictures of where people were standing online for 3 hours to get into the shop to get one of these things. And so that really gave us the jump start that we needed. And I know there's a lot of bigger chains like Brewster's and Good Berries and all of these, but I feel that we have a niche with doing things differently, because everything we do is pretty big. Except we do everything. And what we hear from the customers is that what they love is not just the ice cream, but we're versatile and they can come in and they can get anything. They can get a shake, they can get a crazy shake, they can get a cone, they can get banana split, they can get sundae, we're very, very versatile in what we have. We have a diverse menu. And so people love that. And we keep it fresh. I keep coming up with ideas and trying to keep it fresh as we go.
It sounds like it and everything. I will let you continue talking. Speaking of DoorDash, I got to go pick up the answer the door and all along those lines. But one of the questions I was going to ask you really quickly is, do you think that work ethic helps as well? Because I am friends with the current mayor of Durham, who is also the owner of Zweli's, which is a Zimbabwean restaurant that he opened with his wife and all along those lines. But I know that sometimes people will think that work ethic, particularly work ethics from different cultures like the Caribbean and African cultures, are sometimes even stronger than our own work ethic. So I was just wondering your take on work ethic.
Okay. I think I think work ethics has a lot to play in it as well, because you have to have, as a owner of a business, it's not easy out here, and we have dealt with so much in the last 3 to 4 years trying to open this shop, and as we open the shop and as we continue to grow, it keeps coming at you, and you can't be lazy. You have to be resilient. So I think work ethics have a lot to do with it. You have to have a certain mindset, and it's hard to stay in that mindset when these things keep, grasping at you and pulling and tugging at you. So I grew up with a grandmother who, I got up in the morning. First thing in the morning, you pray and you got to make your bed, get ready for school, but you can't leave before you make your bed. So it starts at an early in stage. And these are little things that I still carry with me. I get up every morning and I make my bed, because for me, that starts my day, and that kind of dictate my prayer, and my making my bed dictates what my outcome of my day is going to be. So these little things that was installed at an early childhood is what really makes a difference, and you have to have a strong work ethic to do what small business owners do, because it's not easy.
No, definitely. And what advice would you give to folks that are listening to you now and thinking like, I want to go open an ice cream shop? I actually had some friends that were thinking that they wanted to make a trip to the state fair and maybe even get their products at the state fair. And I do have another dear friend of mine that has opened up I think it's a seafood oriented food truck and all along those lines. But he and his wife have been in that space, Mr. Truitt, I think for about less than a year now, if I'm remembering correctly, but they've definitely just recently started it, even though he comes from the theater world and all along
Mhm.
those lines. But I just wondering your take, and what advice would you give to folks that are thinking that they want to go into business? And did you go that route? Because it sounds like y'all went the route of starting off with a physical building, and then there are a number of other people that have gone from the food truck to the physical
Mhm.
building. I think Barocca Soul and a couple of others started off as food trucks, and then they had a physical
Mhm.
location later on. I think even Only Burger did that as well. But I was just wondering, was there ever a time that you had a food truck, or did you always start with the uh, physical location first? Because I do know there have been some people that have started off with the food truck. And what advice would you give to folks that are thinking about going into business? Because they say that, from what I've heard, that the restaurant business and any food business is a very difficult business, and that unfortunately, the rate of failure can be very high, and you have to be
Right.
very determined and everything. So I just wondering, what
Mhm.
advice would you give to people?
Yeah, so we didn't start with a food truck. We went straight to brick and mortar. I
Mhm.
didn't even think of a food truck back then. But I would say to anybody that's starting, it's, you see the glitz and the glamour. Oh, she's got a business. Oh, he owns his own business. But it is tough out there, and you have to be very resilient. One of the things that I have learned in the last 3 years is, make sure that you have enough to save for a rainy day, because even now with us, it does get slow in the winter, and we have to come out of pocket. I mean, because it's not covering itself all the time. We're still, trying to get out of the red. So we have to come out of our personal money to cover what to cover and make sure that we can carry through for these months that it's not making the money on it for itself. So it's make sure you have a savings, make sure that you can get the funding that you need, the capital that you need to go through. Make sure that when you start making that money, that you're saving some of that money, because that is a big mistake I made early on. Was we did so well in the first year. We did really well in the first year, and I was paying cash for everything because I didn't want the debt. And so I was buying the ice cream cash. I was paying utility bills. I was doing everything cash. And then so that capital that we could have had if we had used credit card or what have you to carry us through, we could have saved some of that for capital. So I would say these are like really
Mhm.
major things.
No,
Make
yeah,
sure you
very
have that
major
saved.
things. Yeah, very major
Yeah, make
things.
sure you have stuff saved, capital, and all of that stuff. Build your business credit early. I didn't know about business credit. I was a year not knowing about business credit. You can't get capital. You have to be at least 3 years into business. Some people are requiring, because I've been trying to get capital for the last year now, and they keep telling you have to be at least 3 years and make a certain amount of money, and this all, so learn about business credit. Start, and once you have your LLC, start building building your business credit. Don't wait. So when you get into the business, you have already built these things up to help you with the capital that you need. And come in with a strong mind. Come in with a strong mind, because it can break you. If you let it, it will. So when you come in, make sure that you're prepared to deal with some of the stuff that, because it's not just the shop. You have outside entities that come in from nowhere. And like one of the things that we're dealing with is a ton of carry. I did so much research before I started this, so much. I reached out to so many different people, and what do I need, and all of this other stuff. And none of the grease trap never came up from anybody.
Wow.
And we started our business, and here's the town of Cary, and now we're looking at $16,000 to $20,000. So do your research. Don't make, mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes, especially if it's your first business. But from people like us who have done it, and we're telling you, try to deter some of those mistakes that we've made.
No, that makes a lot of sense and everything. Definitely got to do your research and all along those lines. And sometimes those outside forces can be an issue, because I know one of the things that I work in the Hayti Center, and across from the Hayti is one of the Pelican locations. And I do know that there is some major gentrification going on. So I'm not sure that they will be there that much longer, because they will probably be part of the casualties of that kind of redevelopment and all along those lines. So I just wondering, how safe do you feel at your current location, and are you looking at expanding locations? Because I do know that there are a number of that particular chain. There are that they will be able to bounce back in someplace else, but I do know that there is some concern that they may not be there, say, a year or two, because there is a group of folks that are going to be doing a major development. I think it's going to be both apartments as well as some business complexes that'll literally be across from us, and also across from another apartment complex, and all along those lines. But I was just wondering, what are some of your own expansion plans, and are you even thinking about expansion at this point?
I was thinking about expansion. I wanted to actually, part of the dream was to open a second shop by the third or fourth year, but with everything that's going on, that's going to be delayed. And it could be delayed or canceled, for lack of a better word, because I'm still working with it, trying to work things out with the town of Cary. If I don't get this grease interceptor, we're gonna have to close the shops, because they're gonna start imposing fines, which I don't want. So I've been looking for different locations to see if that's a possibility of us moving into something else that was possibly a restaurant or a cafe that may have the grease interceptor already, so we can just kind of move into it, because we don't need a lot of space. We just need, right now we have 800 square feet, so I'm looking for something between 800 to 1,000 square feet. That can save us if we can get a spot like that. But other than that, my expansion, I really wanted to expand. I wanted to have our second shop between the third and fourth year, but right now that's not what the plan is. God has something different planned. Maybe it's still a plan, but from what I can see, if we have to come up with $16,000 to $20,000, that's gonna put us in a lot of hardship. And I can't tell you how it's going. I'm being optimistic. And I'm doing everything that I can do at this point in time. But we really have to wait and see how everything plays out before I can even think about a second option.
That makes a lot of sense. And I don't know if you touched base at all, because I actually produced one of her shows, and it'll actually be later on this afternoon. But I do know that there is a young lady that is a singer that actually has a coffee and tea shop in the Cary train station. So I don't know if you reached out or even thought about reaching out to Coco McMillan, because she is a sister that has a tea shop in that area, and I think that's been going on for a number of years. And I do know that sometimes she will do collaborations as well. So I don't know if you've had other people try to have you reach out to her, because I think she's very much tied to her church community as well. But that might be somebody that you might want to reach out to if you haven't already made that reaching out, because she's had that train station. I think she opened up in the morning, like around 6 or 7, and it's open till like 3 or 4 there in that Cary train station. So she's in your same general area. So you might want to reach out to.
I didn't know of it. I have reached out to ice cream shops though in the area, just to kind of see what they have. And so I've learned that the town of Apex doesn't require ice cream shops to have a grease interceptor. And I've reached out to different ice cream shops in the Cary area. Even though I'm in Raleigh, I'm on the cuffs of Raleigh and Cary, so the for some reason I fall under Cary for some things.
Mhm.
And so I've reached out to some ice cream shop owners, and I did learn that shops my size, they have a grease interceptor, but it's small, it's above ground, and they didn't need to dig the ground, whereas they're requiring me to put in a 50 gallon tank, 50, and it needs to be underground.
Right.
So so I've been doing what I can and trying to get research and trying to reach out to people. We've had several people come forward to try and help. Um, and so I'm just plugging along and trying
You
to play it
definitely,
safe at the same time.
you definitely plugging along and definitely doing a great job in that space. I know that here, and I think he still has it because he actually came from that space of having gone through some hard times. I think he might have even had some criminal history and everything. But I was just wondering, have you ever connected with or attached yourself at all to another flavor that exists? Because while you are flavor ice creams, there is flavored desserts here in Durham, North Carolina. You
Yes,
actually know the people that are
yes,
behind
I
that and
know.
everything.
I know of him. We met right before I opened the shop because I live in West Cary, and they used to be right down the street from me in Durham on 55.
Right.
And so I saw the shop and I stopped in and introduced myself. This is before my shop was even open, and introduced myself. And once I opened the shop, we decided to work. I decided to work with him, and he was good with that. So he supplied all my cupcakes
Mhm.
um, for a long time. But then things started to get so slow for us that getting the cupcakes what didn't make sense because they kind of sat and we had to throw them all out. So I haven't really worked with him in a little bit, but I know I have worked with him before. I know his story as well,
Right.
and he's yeah. So he has been an inspiration because I knew where he was and where he came from and what he's doing.
Yeah, you're
So
definitely doing some positive things and everything. You mentioned it earlier, the fact that a lot of times shops like yours are seasonal. And I'm actually one of my other jobs, which I have in addition to the Cultural Arts Center, is working for a testing company, and we are very seasonal. As a matter of fact, we're in the middle of our season right now because the kids have to take the test before they can be scored because they don't like to use the word graded and everything. But I do know that with seasonal work, when the money is flowing, it is good. But as you just said earlier, you have to save the money because there are going to be some lean times, and sometimes you might have 5 or 6 months that you are busy, or in some cases, it might be as few as 3 to 4 months, depending on the type of seasonal work that you
hmm
are doing and everything. So I'm just wondering. I know a lot of times people think about the fact that creatives and entrepreneurs oftentimes have to have multiple jobs and have to have multiple streams of income. So I was just wondering, is this the only job that you and your business partners have, or do you find yourself sometimes having to work? And you heard me allude to it earlier, and that it actually was who I answered the door for. Have friends that work for DoorDash and Grubhub and even Lyft and Uber. So do you find that sometimes you have to do other jobs, and how do you do that balance? And if you do have to do other jobs between the work of doing the business, which we know can sometimes be almost like a 36-hour day versus a 24-hour day and everything, but sometimes you have to do other things in order to survive and eat and make sure that there is food on the table, not just for yourself, but for your family as well. So I just
Yeah.
wondering, how did that balance play in your own life?
Well, I did have a full time job. I did have a full time job. I worked as a financial aid coordinator, financial aid counselor for about 15 years. Um, and so when I started this, I actually left that job in April of 21, and we opened in January of 21 because we were so busy.
Right.
So right now I don't have I don't work outside of the shop. The shop is what I do. I'm there as long as that's open. I'm there. I have been looking for full part-time work, which has been, for whatever reason, really hard to find. Um, but I'm also in real estate. So I just got my real estate license back in September. So I'm fairly new, and I'm taking that time to really learn the business and get started with real estate. But my husband does hold us down, and I will tell you, I am being 100% transparent. That one income is tough. We've had to make a lot of cuts because, like I said, when it's lean on the shop side, we have to chip in there to cover costs there, and we have our lives to take care of. So it can be sometimes very frustrating, but we got to do what we got to do. We got to make decisions, um, and hopefully, and hopefully we'll get through this. I know that we'll get through it. Something would happen and turn around for us, and um, I don't know if that's even, I don't like to say it because it's hurtful, but maybe that may include closing the shop. I don't know how that's going to work out. Like I said, I'm trying to stay optimistic, but that's what I'm doing now. I have been searching for work, but whatever I need, it needs to be, whatever I do needs to be part time because I do have the shop.
Yep.
And the only way I can go full time is if we don't have the shop, because I have to be there because we hire high school students, and we don't make that kind of money to hire somebody to run it,
Right.
because so I have to be there. So, and then it's, they said, like I said, it's given me the time to throw myself in the real estate world.
Yeah. Well, I had a question about that, but before I get to that, one of the things I was curious about was you talked about the financial aspects, and I know that a lot of times, even when people open businesses, they do not always know the things around business plans and fiscal responsibility, and you kind of alluded to that earlier. So I was just wondering, what are some of the things that you wish you knew from a financial standpoint and from a business standpoint that the if I can use this term, the school of hard knocks is what wound up teaching you and everything. But if you could have gone back and learned it in advance, because I know that the network that I'm part of, one of the things that they oftentimes talk about is that they are frustrated that we don't teach fiscal literacy and financial responsibility in our school systems, and they wish that more schools would do that and everything. So just wondering your
Man.
take on that, and also what are some of the things that you wish you had learned before you opened the shop and went down this entrepreneurial journey.
Um, and I have I have a degree. I have a business administration degree, so I did get some sort of marketing and all these other things, but I think I still lack that. So if you're gonna go into business, I would um I would definitely suggest some marketing classes, social media classes, um, AI classes, all of these things that I didn't know that how important. I know some of it would be needed, but I didn't know how big of a role they would play and how important they would be. For instance, social media. I knew of social media, but I didn't know the influence it would have on my business. Social media is what got us to where we are anyway, right? And I had to learn. I'm still learning a lot about social media. So these are things that when coming in, I would definitely accounting. I worked in accounting for years. So I had some accounting background. I do my own books, but I don't do my taxes. I have somebody do my taxes, but I can do my own books because I have an accounting background. So if you have never done accounting, make sure that you have you're versed in accounting, your accounts payables, receivables, especially when with taxes and all these different things that come at you as a business owner. Payroll.
Mhm.
Didn't know, I didn't have payroll background, but I know about payroll now. So there's so many different ins and outs of it. I would say a class is that if you, even if you have a degree like I do in business administration, you still need something outside of that because it's so different. It's so different, and than what you go through in school. Um, that you need a different set of business, if that makes sense. I don't
That
know if
makes a
I'm
lot of
making
sense.
sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned earlier about the importance of social media, and I know a number of businesses that are very much trying to get their word out on social media. But you also mentioned earlier about AI and everything. And like I said, that friend that I was referring to, Nicole, she's very much in that AI space and everything. But how important has it been to learn those skills, and how important and how much do you feel that you have learned those skills enough, or do you feel that there are still things you want to learn about AI and about social media that could help the business and everything and all along those lines?
So I've been learning it for the last 3 years. So I feel pretty comfortable on now. Before I wasn't. I had to learn social media. Even though I was on Facebook here and there, but now I'm like diving into Facebook because I have to post about the business and all that. So the school that I was at, Brunswick Community College, they actually give free courses to business owners, and so I went and I took a class with them about social media. And so I'm always looking at other YouTube videos and stuff about social media, because there's so much. If you can't afford the course, there's so much out there that you can still, like YouTube, teach you these things. So there's ways to learn it, but it's a must. If you want to be a part of this game and own your own business, these are things that you must know. These are not optional. These are things that you have to learn. Accounting, you have to know some basic form of accounting. Where I don't care what software you decide to use, you need to know some basics of accounting. You need to know, because you have to pay people. You understand? You have to run your business. So you need to know some form of this. You need to know some form of social media, because that's how you're going to capture people's attention. You need to know some form of marketing. These are things that are imperative to grow your business. So I my I got into the planning aspect of it way back when, because I knew I had a business before. And so when I was in Brunswick, I had a small restaurant. And so I learned the planning aspect of it because I took some classes with SCORE. I don't know if you're familiar with SCORE,
Your
but they're
score.
nonprofit. And they have classes all the time. They have people that's willing to help. And so I went and I met with somebody in SCORE, and they taught me how to write a business plan. He gave me the steps, and I had to go home and follow those steps to write a business plan. And so I became comfortable with writing a business plan. I wrote the business plan for the shop. So there's a resources out there, and a business plan is so important because you can't get funding. That's one of the documents they want to see when you go for funding, is they want a business plan. So you gotta have a business plan. So whether you pay somebody to do it, I would suggest, even if you pay somebody to do it, you learn to do it. You learn what's in that business plan, what they're looking for, these and different things. And SCORE is a great resource. So again, even if you don't have the money to take the classes, there are resources out there that you can use that's free.
No, definitely. There's a lot of resources that people can use, and all along those lines. You mentioned earlier being in the real estate space now and everything. So I was just wondering, some people are thinking that this is a great market for real estate, as we are definitely coming out of the pandemic. And I can't remember whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, because I always forget how those terms are used and everything. I just wondered, as a new real estate agent, what your take is on the market, particularly here in the North Carolina market, and to be specific, the Triangle market. And I was wondering how that has even helped you in your main business in terms of the ice cream shop, some of the things that you might have learned from real estate. But I just wanted your take on the real estate market as it stands.
So, being like I said, I started in September, And from what I've seen so far, this is a buyer's market. We're in, I mean, and people think about the interest rate. The interest rate is dropping now, but it was still a buyer's market. And the reason why it was it's going to become a buyer's market. So with the interest rate is situation, the sellers it was a seller's market, and the reason for that is the buyers weren't buying, and they're still not buying right now because of the interest rate. The interest rate is so high, nobody wants to buy right now. So everybody's kind of holding their breath in regards to the interest rate. But I've learned a term since I've been there, and that's marry to marry the interest rate, right? So date how it goes is date the rate, no, buy the house and date the rate. That's how it says. So you marry the house and you date the rate, which pretty much you buy the house at the higher interest rate, and then once the interest rate drops, you have an opportunity to refinance it at the lower rate, but at least you're able to get the house that you want. And this is the reason why it's a buyer's market, is because there's not a lot of people buying right now. So the houses that are on the market is not up for competition. When the interest rate drops, then you're gonna have everybody, wanting to buy this house. Say, in particular, I have a house for sale, and you're not buying it because you're waiting for the interest rate to drop. Then when the interest rate drops, I have 10 people looking at my house now, whereas before it was just you.
Wow.
So it's gonna create a lot of competition, and what's gonna happen is the seller is now going to up the sale price to a higher cost, because now there's a lot of competition. So he's got more, he can get more for a house than now. So we have buyers right now dropping the prices of their house. I've shown several houses where I have one particular one in Wake Forest. It started at 150 million, and he dropped, no buyers, drop, and now down to 905, right?
Yeah.
And he's gonna probably and it's sitting there because everybody's waiting for the interest rate to drop. Once the interest rate drop, then you have now all these buyers heading to that house. So he can go right back up and raise the price of that house again, because there's a competition now for his house. So people are just gonna, to win that bid, they're gonna up their offers. So right now is the best time to buy, because you're not in a competition to buy with anybody. Yes, so if you see a house that you like and you could afford it, and you got pre-approved and all, and you could afford how much house you could afford, now is the best time to buy. So marry the house now, buy it, and then once you have it, once the interest rate drops, then you can refinance and get the lower rate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So like you said, definitely get the house, and definitely sounds like it is a market that is a good market for those that are, it sounds like, trying to buy the house versus trying to sell the house, and all along those lines. But that being said and everything, and we still got a few more minutes to go, I was just wondering, because one of the things that I talk about on a number of these online dinner parties and all along this line is this. Well, there are two things. One is the work-life balance, and we kind of alluded to that earlier, but with the family and with the kids, how do you balance the work and the life, and what advice do you give to folks? Because I know that sometimes people will feel that they need to take some time to have some meditation. You kind of alluded to that earlier with the prayer, or get out in nature, or do something away from work. And sometimes they like to do things, if they are a couple, in that shared space and do things together. I know that sometimes me and my mom and my brother and my nephews will get together on family outings, and we will play games. Sometimes we might get together and play a game called Spinners, which is basically dominoes, and all along those lines. So I'm just wondering, what do you do in terms of your work-life balance, and how do you find things to relax. Maybe you and your, because you mentioned one of the kids was into, you said football, but I know in a lot of the countries, football is actually known as soccer and everything along those lines. I'm not sure. I think that's the football that you were referring to and everything.
It's
So just
American football.
American
Well,
football.
yeah, they were in high school. My kids are all grown now.
Right.
Everybody's out of the house. I'm an empty nester. I have peace. And my kids, thank God, was never trouble kids. They never got into things that they, oops, I'm sorry. My, I'm so sorry.
No, I can still hear you.
It fell right out. They never got into crazy stuff to have me, being all worried and everything. But they're grown now. My baby is 24, going on 25 in a few days. So we're empty nesters. My time is in the morning. Everybody kind of knows that. So when I wake up in the morning, that's prayer time, meditation time, whatever you want to call it. That's my time. I wake up and I like to spend time with God. I want to just take that time to thank Him for everything that's going on, everything that He's done, everything that He's about to do, and also take some time to listen to what He is requiring of me, the path that He might have for me, that kind of thing. So in the morning, that's my time. That's the time I take for myself, the morning. And then once I get out of the bed and I make the bed, I hit the ground running with whatever the day has. Like today has been an easy day. Right. Normally it's not. Normally it's not that easy.
It's good today to have those easy days. I know I need those every once in a while. Those days of contemplation and relaxing, because I'm oftentimes busy with a number of things myself as well. So I can relate to what you're talking about when you get those kind of skate days or along those lines. But one of the things that I also talk about on this show and have talked about with a number of guests, and I would love to hear about it, but sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. So there's this whole notion of the imposter syndrome is what some people call it. A lot of people would call it the inner critic, but it sounds like you have a very supportive network. But I'm sure that there were people, even when you told them that you wanted to run an ice cream shop, that were trying to be the negative Nellies and all along those lines. And I'm sure that even your inner conversation might have been telling you the reasons that you shouldn't do it. Because I know that whether it has been in my business life, because there have been jobs that I have not applied for because I was too busy talking to myself as to why I should do it or not do it. And by the time it got time to do it, the opportunity had left. And there has also been social situations and being a early 60s person and still in that single space where I have definitely done that as well, where I've talked myself out of potential great relationships and all along those lines. So I just wondered, how do you deal with that inner critic? Because that's something we oftentimes talk about here on the Online Dinner Party, is the inner critic and dealing with that inner critic. And it is very important for business owners. So I'm sure that you even had that conversation with yourself every once in a while where you might have been thinking that it was not going to be successful, even though it seems like it's very successful, at least it's working toward being successful. But how do you deal with that inner critic?
That's tough. That is so tough. I am a person that I internalize. Mm-hmm. So I will go through something, but you would never know that I'm going through something unless I tell you. And so I internalize everything, and I would come home at the end of the day, I would cry, I would let it out, and then I would pray. So for like instance, right now, some nights I can't sleep, and it's because my mind is telling me that I failed with the shop. You're not gonna make it. This is gonna, it's gonna close. This kind of thing, and it's hard for me because that's resounding in my head in the night, and I can't fall asleep. So, for me, like I said, I pray, and I have like scriptures that I in my head that I know, and so I would recite those to myself, like to encourage, to give myself some encouragement. Also, anybody that knows me, they sit in my car. I keep my car playing gospel music, and that's because it keeps me in a space. It keeps me positive, in a positive space. It keeps me in a space where I can say thank you, God. Um, it keeps me it helps me stay in commune with Him throughout the day. That's one of the reasons why I've done it. And I do it. And I've been doing this for years because I try to stay very positive. The other night, I broke down so bad. And you're going to have days like this that I broke down so bad that the lady that I've been working with from Black in Technology, now she's been telling me for months, she's like, you're not in this alone. Right. She's like, I'm here with you. She's like, if you need to ever call me, call me. She's like, I am here for you. But again, I'm that type of person. I don't like to share our personal business, which I feel is personal. I internalize. I don't want to burden you with my burdens, that kind of thing. But then I had to remember when she approached me about the organization doing the fundraiser. Somebody else told me while I was talking, you need to drop that pride. And I was like, because I consider myself a person that doesn't have pride, but I guess everybody's got a little bit of pride in them. And that person specifically came out and he said, you need to drop your pride. Let go of your pride and let somebody help you. And so I had to come home and then I started to pray and I literally know I heard God say to me, I created you for community. The very thing that you're trying to create with the ice cream shop is what I created you guys to be. I didn't create you to be alone. I created you to be with people. So let people come in and let people help. So I think for me is having people that can give me sound advice. My husband he's like a drill master. I'm not gonna lie. He is not. Sometimes for me as a female, I want some empathy. And he is there to listen. He's there to listen. But I don't feel like I get empathy from him enough. So he plays his part in providing. He's a great provider for our family. He does that. He listens. He gives me what he thinks his opinion is. And then he goes, again, that's just my opinion, but you got to make, the final decision, whatever. So I have him to hold me up on that end with that kind of thing. And then I have people like T, who is with the Black in Tech, right, who is there to give me the empathy and sensitivity that I need, because as women, we need some sensitivity.
Well, as you were saying, I was thinking two things. One, I talk about empathy quite a bit on this show and a number of other shows, because I think that the empathy is very important from both a man and a female perspective. And sometimes us guys are not the best at the empathy card, but I consider myself to be an empathetic and an empath. That's the word I was looking for, an empath. And I've been told that by some friends of mine as well, and all along those lines. But definitely sometimes it is not always the role that a lot of times the male gender is good at and everything. But then as you were talking, I was also thinking to myself, I don't know, and not trying to be crazy in the questions, but I'm going like, yeah, I know about that internalizing, because I sometimes will internalize myself as well. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if Miss McLean is one of them water signs, because it sounds like she's got the same similar that kind of background that us water signs have, because as a Cancer, I know that we are very much internalizing, even though
I'm Capricorn, but I internalize a lot. I'm Capricorn, but in my mind, say for instance, you ask me something, or you say something to me that I don't like. No, I won't just come out at you. I won't come back at you. What I do and have learned to do is to step back, take a step back, and process in my head before I come to you. That might be a day, that might be a week, but I have to take that time within me to process, because I'm a person that doesn't like conflict. I've had some traumas with conflict. And so conflict is not something that I like at all.
No, I can
So
do
my way of dealing with that is taking the time to process and then come back with a calm mind, come back with how I'm going to say things or present
No,
things
I can
before
definitely
I
relate
say
to
it.
that because I'm not a conflict person either, and will sometimes do things to avoid conflict, and sometimes that can get you in as much trouble as it can, saving the trouble, and all along those lines. So I can definitely relate to that because sometimes I would do things that I'm thinking will avoid the conflict or delay the conflict. So yeah, that conflict avoidance can be an issue, and an issue that I can relate to because I have definitely done that myself as well. So I definitely can relate to what you're saying in that sense because I know I've been guilty of that. And technically speaking, if I remember the astrology right and everything, I think that Capricorn is literally the opposite of Cancer because I think that that's why there is the Tropic of of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer if you go by actual geography and things along those lines. So yeah, I think that even astrologically they're supposed to be like opposites, but that kind of
Opposite.
right that opposite that are similar and all in that
Right.
case if I'm remembering my history of that particular notion of studies and everything, but I think that's what I recall and all along those lines. One of the things I was curious about, I'm actually going to bring up some of the Facebook posts because you mentioned that earlier and everything, because you did say that there is needs for folks, and I was wondering why y'all are calling it for the culture, and apparently there's going to be some amazing entertainment that'll be coming there as well. And like I said, in a minute, I'm going to bring up one of the Facebook posts that you had put out there and all along those lines so the folks can actually watch and hopefully get engaged and all in that space. But I did see that there was some amazing parts of what is taking place in this event. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how we can help and all in that space. But I just wondered if you can speak to this and some of the things that will be going on with this event because it does look like it's going to be an amazing event coming up literally in about 2 days. It'll be coming
Truly,
up
yeah.
on Saturday and everything.
We're really hoping and praying that we have a good turnout. I mean, we really market this piece. The For the Culture was the name that Black in Technology wanted to give this because I'm a Black owned business, and it was the month of February, even though this fell into March.
Right.
But they are a black organization, me being a black business in the month of February, History Month. I believe that's the reason for the culture, the name For the Culture. And of course, it's a fundraiser to help raise funds for the shop. Um, we did come up with various things to make it as fun as possible. So as you see on the flyer, we have several vendors, and they are pretty much all black businesses. The only one on there is Daniel's Floral Shop, and Daniel's Floral Shop is right on the side of me. She's my neighbor, really nice, really nice lady. They've been there for many years. So she's actually been a part of it because she's wanted to help. Um, and so she's doing floral arrangements with the kids. So she's having a floral arrangement workshop for the kids so they can learn how to make floral arrangements. And then we have the Nooks of Grace by Keller Williams is me. That's my real estate company's name by Keller Williams. And then we have the Tri-C food truck. They're amazing. They're out of New York actually. They had a shop in New York and they closed in New York and they moved to North Carolina and reopened in not too far from where the shop is. So they're bringing the truck out.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Rogers Global Leadership it's a leadership organization that teaches leadership skill sets. And then we have Lux Shine and Mobile. He's doubling up that day. He's actually going to be the DJ. He's
Okay.
DJing, and he is actually going to be doing mobile detailing that day. So if you want on Saturday, if you want your car to be nice and shiny and clean when you leave, he's got you. The North Carolina Vertigo Support Community. This is this young man that I've met, he comes into the shop all the time. He's been a big supporter of the shop, and he has vitiligo. And so he also had a podcast that I spoke at. I spoke at one time, and so he's bringing out, and he's gonna set up a table to make people aware of the vitiligo. And Zai, she is an artist. She's a hairstylist. She's everything. She is so cute. I love her. She's gonna do the face painting. Gracefully Led is a Christian, but is Christian books. Um, my pastor, my first lady, they both have books that they've written, so they're gonna be selling their books. And then Peace for Nine is a clothing company. So there's caps, t-shirts, different things. KP Candies, he does amazing stuff with his candies. Actually, one of the months that we're gonna be doing 3 Monster Shakes on Saturday, and one of the Monster Shake is a surprise shake with one of his product on it. So I'm excited about that one. And then Simply Sophisticated Jewelry is by T. Cruz, and she's the person who actually put all of this together with Black in Technology. So she's going to have a table there as well.
Wow, it sounds like an amazing event, like I said. And what time on the 2nd will it be? Because I think it's in the afternoon until the evening. But what is the specific time that this event will be going on and all along those lines?
So we're going to kick off. So the shop is open between the hours of 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. But the event itself is going to kick off at 3 o'clock to 3 to 6. It's going to kick off at 3 to 6, the event on Saturday. And Scoops is going to be there to...
So Scoops will be there doing this thing.
Scoops will be there doing this dance. And she'll be handing out balloons and different things, taking pictures with kids. She's super excited.
Super excited about being there. So that looks amazing. And this will be there. This is one of those.
We have 24 flavors of ice cream. We keep we serve at all times.
Wow, you have 24 flavors, you said?
24 flavors, tuna and dairy flavors, and the rest is regular.
And will the ice cream social show up? And know about it and everything. So it looks like all along.
24. And we do catering. So if you have an event and you want us to come out, we do catering. We can come out to you. If you can't come to the shop, and we also do spirit nights. If you want to raise money for your school PTA or your organization, we choose a day. Whatever sales we make for that day, we give back 25% of it to you for your organization.
Wow. And along those same lines and everything, as we get ready to wind down, and it's been a delightful conversation. I've enjoyed Nicole connecting me with you, and then we've had this delightful conversation. There is a question I ask everybody toward the end of all of these shows and everything, but one of the things I was curious about is definitely the advice that you would give to folks that are wanting to get into specifically the ice cream business, not just business in general, but the ice cream business. So is it a business that anybody can get into? Because I know that there was a young kid, I think he was from Georgia, and there was a commercial I see regularly where he had his whole ice cream truck and all along those lines, but it was an ice cream truck that he had definitely been in the community there. I think it was in Georgia, if I remember correctly, but I used to run it regularly on one of the shows that I used to be part of. But if folks are wanting to get involved in the business of the ice cream business, what advice would you give them since you've now been in it for a few years?
The ice cream business. I can't tell you about the ice cream truck because I never owned an ice cream truck. But for the ice cream business, like I said earlier, it's all about your research. Make sure that you do your research. Make sure that you find the right person to help you build out your shop the way you want it, so it goes smooth. Make sure that you have the instructions written out on paper, so you don't run into issues like I did. Just make sure everything is planned out properly. Make sure that you seek counsel from your city, your town, what it is that you need before you get started. All of these are other little things. Make sure that you have your savings, your savings correct. Build your business credit. All of these things that we talked about earlier. But
Definitely.
most of all, make sure that you're ready and your mind is ready to
Yeah.
do this, because I don't care how prepared you get, there's something that's going to come and it's going to slap you, and you want to be you want to have a resilient mindset when you go into something like this. um so yeah,
Well,
my recommendation is research, research, research. And then when you're ready and you put it all together, you're coming in with a mindset. It's not all gonna be peaches and cream. You're
right.
gonna have some thorns and stuff along the way, but it's
Yeah,
your
that makes a lot
mindset.
of sense. What's one of, because I know that there used to be a pizza establishment here in Durham, I forgot the name of it, but they had unusual pizza toppings and all along those lines. So I was just wondering, what is one of the most unusual requests that you have had for a flavor of ice cream? Because I want to say that this pizza shop, which is not around anymore, there might have been even an alligator type pizza that they were part of and all in that space. But I'm just wondering what it is one of the most unusual requests you have had that somebody has wanted? Because you mentioned the 23 flavors, and I think a lot of them are the basic flavors: chocolate, banana, pineapple, vanilla, a number of the other basic ones. But I'm thinking that people might have unusual requests as well. So I just wondering, since we can have a multitude of flavors, if there has ever been an unusual request you've gotten or a flavor that you are hoping to develop at some point that it might be shocking people later on and everything. So I just wondering, one, an unusual request, and two, if there's any new flavor that you are hoping to develop at some point.
So right now we get our ice cream. We actually don't make our own ice cream. Our ice cream comes from Wisconsin, and
Okay.
it's so super super good. But they keep coming up with new ideas because we give them ideas, and then they play with it, and then they decide what to come up with. But um and at the shop right now we have some very unique named and flavored ice cream. And people love these, and we can't get rid of them because we sell so much of it. And one of them is called Exhausted Parent. It's actually coffee, bourbon spiked espresso ice cream, and that's our one of our top sellers. And then we have one that it's called the beep just got serious, and that's all salted cashew, salted fudge, salted caramel. um it's so good. So, and then we have one called Heaps of Love. These are the top ones, Heaps of Love. And that's got everything in it from Oreo. It's got Oreo, it's got cookie dough, it's got caramel, chocolate, you name it. It's got everything in there. I'm giving you the top ones. Munchie Madness, it's got everything in there as well. M&Ms, cookie dough, all of that stuff. Kitty Kitty Bang Bang. It's it's Oreo with raspberry swirls with cheesecake. And then there's Zanzibar. So those are like Zanzibar chocolate. It's really, really dark and rich, and it tastes pretty much like a chocolate, real rich chocolate brownie. And so those are, and Fat Elvis. We got Fat Elvis. Fat Elvis is banana flavored with chocolate chips and peanut butter. So
Well,
those are the top
those
ones.
all sound very delicious. I had actually gone to a popular restaurant chain yesterday and actually gotten a shake because they are definitely open late night. And I can even go ahead and say the name, but I had gone to Cookout and actually got a banana pineapple shake. And I was actually telling my one of my cohorts that I was actually enjoying it. Might have to go and get another one later on today, but I'm actually thinking your flavors are actually better.
You have to come and try one of ours.
That's
We
what I'm
have
saying.
special we have specialty shakes too. We have banana pineapple, we have pina colada, we have strawberry chocolate. You gotta come try one of ours.
I want to come and try one of y'all. It sounds very good and everything. As I said earlier, still in that single space. Who knows? There might even be some aphrodisiac types of ice cream that I can get there as well. But who knows if they exist or not? But I don't know whether that is even a possibility and all along those lines. But who knows what happens? Because I do know people are sometimes attracted to chocolate and other sweets as well. And just the flavors were sounding very delicious to me and everything. Because I was going like, those sound very delicious and very kind of relief. It definitely, as we are about to head into the summer months, even though right now, like I said earlier, winter is feeling like summer,
Yeah,
almost at least feeling
summer.
like spring and all along those lines. So I think we got up to the 60s or 70s today, and I think it's supposed to be this way for another week, even though there might be another cold blast. And I'm glad that you are getting some of your material from Wisconsin, because like I said, I'm a native born North Carolinian, but when I went to school, and I went there for 4.5 years, that was to Milwaukee, because Marquette is actually in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So
Mm.
I definitely have a affinity and a love for Wisconsin in that sense, since it gave me my college education. So even though I've not been
Mm.
back, because it's also very cold, and even though I'm a
Yes.
fan, I'm a fan of the Milwaukee Brewers, and I'm a fan of some other teams that are up in that general area. I'm even hoping that Doc Rivers can do well with the Bucks since he is the coach. But he came in midseason, and he has not been doing that well, even though he's on I think a 2-game winning streak. So hopefully that winning streak can go and he can carry them into a championship and get
Right.
his second championship. But I'm going like, yeah, I don't know, because even when life events happens like births and deaths, I've not exactly been rushing to get back, even though there's an amazing music festival, Summerfest, that takes place in Milwaukee as well. So one of these days
Okay.
I'm back there, but I haven't got back there as of yet. You heard me earlier mention the festivals. I was just wondering, have you looked into the festival market as a place to bring your products to and everything? Because I do know that it's like Centerfest has had some of the popcorn makers, and I think they've had some of the lemonade, and I want to say some of the ice cream folks. And of course, there is the Art Explosion there in Raleigh. There's the Bluegrass Festival coming up, and as you heard me say earlier, I know some people that are involved and trying to get
Yeah.
their product in the state fair and a number of other type of things. So I just wondered, had you looked at that possibility, and is there any possibility of that taking place?
Yeah, I've been looking at that and would love to get into some of these festivals, but I don't have the means to do that right now because you have to have certain setup. The city is gonna check. You have to be in compliance, and so the setup that you would need, I don't have that right now. So like when we do catering, we go into places, we have running, we get water and all of that. When you go to these places, I don't have running water and stuff that I need. So I just have to make sure that I have the right setup. And again, right now trying to deal with this big expense.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta get through this and know where we're going and all of that before I can even
So you can even think
could
about it.
make
Yeah.
that kind of decision. Yeah.
And
So,
that makes a
but
lot of
I've
sense.
thought about it. Hmm.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, and then the question I asked everybody, and then we'll get ready to get out the door and everything. But yeah, you had mentioned earlier that there is efforts, and not just by the Blacks in Technologies, but others to help. And I think that I had seen, even though I'd have to go back and find it, but if you want to tell people, I think that there is a Bitly and a donation way that if people are interested in helping you, even if they can't come to this
Oh,
particular event and all along those lines. So I just wondered if you knew that off the top of your head. If not, I'll try to do some research and everything.
um, let me pull it up. I should, right? You think I would know it off the top of my head, but it's a GoFundMe page
Right.
that was created for us, and it is on our Instagram page in the bio.
Mhm.
So there's a link there if they wanted to make it easy to go on the Instagram page and look at the bio. You will see the link, and they can click on that, and it will take you to the GoFundMe page, so you can donate there as well.
And tell the folks that are listening what the Instagram page is so that they can get to that link and all along those lines. So definitely let folks know how they can reach you and reach the shop. And you never did answer the question, because like I said, one of the things I'm going to ready to do is have that lunch that was delivered earlier and everything. But I was just wondering, is it possible to get flavor ice cream delivered by DoorDash or Grubhub, or is that like too impossible and all along the lines? Or have y'all got on that?
No. So so we do is Grubhub. So we were actually doing both, but we didn't have the enough business to do both. So we got rid of one. So
Okay.
I believe is Grubhub now, and I'm pulling up our website.
No
I'm
problem.
pulling up the website because it's on the website where you can go and actually order. It's Grubhub.
Okay.
You can go. There's a link on the website says order with Grubhub, and you can order with Grubhub, and we would have. But because it's ice cream, um, we have to be careful because if we go too far out, some of these guys don't have the cold bags and stuff
Right.
like they need to, and we don't want you to get melted ice cream.
Right.
So we do it. We can deliver it. I think it's 15 minutes
Right.
from the shop. If you live within 15 minutes on the shop, I think that's how we set it up. But you can order your anything from Grubhub through Grubhub.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. And so the handle you can find us at Flavors Ice Cream
Mhm.
underscore Kerry. That's for the Instagram. And like I said, the GoFundMe link is right in our bio, so you can click on that. Or if you don't see it or have any issues, you can send me a message. I'm very good with answering the messages that comes through on Instagram or Facebook. And then Grubhub, you can click on our website. You can go to our website, which is flavorsicecream.net,
Mhm.
and there is a tab there that you can order through Grubhub.
Okay, so I'll definitely keep that in mind about within 15 minutes because definitely Durham is further than 15 minutes away. Either that or I might have to call my drivers and tell them they need to get one of them back so they can be delivered in the frozen variation and all along those lines and everything. As I said earlier, one of the things that I get all my guests to do, and you did part of that just now by telling folks how they can get in touch with you, but I am a big fan of definitely spreading positivity, and you've been spreading a lot of positivity in this interview, but it is a global network. Pod TV is and everything. So if there is a message of positivity that you would like to share with the global audience, I'm sure that folks would love to hear that. And then we're going to go out with a not so much a competitor, but if there are commercial promotional videos that you want to send to us, I will gladly play them on other people's shows, even before Tuesday or even afterwards and everything, so we can keep you in their mind and everything. But on this particular folder and everything, I've actually got a young lady that does vegan snacks, and she does them out of the Black Farmers Hub, which is also there in Raleigh. So after you give your message of positivity, we'll be hearing about the young lady that has her confectionery that is sold at the Black
Nice.
Farmers Market and
Mm.
all along those lines. But if there are videos and things that you want to email me, we can do something similar to for you on other shows as well. But definitely any message of positivity. And like I said, Miss Elisa, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I would love to have you come back on at a later time or another time, even after the event, just to let folks
Mhm.
know anything that I can do to help get the word out there and to help you in any way I can. I will gladly do that, including trying to find some way to get some of my friends to get to Raleigh, since I am one of those people that gets around by mass transit. But I'll have to talk to some of my friends into maybe grabbing over there so that we can get some of that delicious ice cream, or they can at least bring it to me by bringing the right bags.
Right.
Definitely we'll see what we can do. But I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation and look forward to having you back in the not too distant future.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me on. I did enjoy the conversation, and I look forward to coming back. I
Cool.
do. But for positivity, I just want to say there's so much going on now in this world. And this is not even about ice cream or anything. It's just in general. There's so much hate and negativity and stuff going on in this world around us. And the best thing, the one thing I think that can succumb all of this is unity and community. When we could come together as a community like we're doing now, we're seeing black on black, like black in technology is helping my business. When we can come together as a community, a black community, we can grow, we can thrive, we can flourish. And I think that is the one thing that we as a black society sometimes fail to realize, and we don't come together like we need to. Everybody else supports their own culture. We need to start focusing on who we are. And I know there's a what's the word I'm looking for? People are realizing that more and more, but we need to, the ones that, that's older or whatever, and we see it more, we need to really drill it into our younger generation. Unity and community. We need to be able to stand together, and this is how we will succumb, and this is how we will grow, and this is how we will flourish as a community.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And as you were speaking, I was actually thinking that I'll also have to put you in touch with my younger brother, because they do some stuff to help the community as well. But my younger brother is one of the 2 founders and co-presidents of the Bull City Slingers, which is a slingshot group, or as I like to call them, the Batmobile car. So you sometimes see them driving around Raleigh and Durham and all along those lines. But my brother Malik Lee, along with his friend Archie, and all in that space, are 2 of the co-founders. And I know that they've done some efforts to help different organizations to actually help one of the communities here in Durham during Thanksgiving by providing Thanksgiving food. And they definitely did something. I think they teamed up with Shirley Caesar's church around Christmas, and definitely worked with other organizations. And I think matter of fact, I know some of the members are out of Raleigh, because it is definitely definitely a triangle base, but it might even be statewide that they have riders from. So definitely there are a number of these organizations, because I know there's the Bull City Riders, which I think is the motorcycle group, and then there is.
Oh my gosh! I was just gonna ask you if they knew of any Black motorcycle riders club, because if we can get I know it's like 2-day notice, but if we can get. The kids will love that. And not even the kids, the guys will love that.
I'm going to check with my brother and all along those lines, because like I said, I know that he knows the Bull City Riders, I think, still exist. And I know that their email is out there in the public domain. And I might know some of those riders. There is the Bull City Horse Group, and I can't think of their names. I think there's the Trail Riders or something like that. And then there is my brother's Slingshot Club. And I do know that they go to events regularly. So I'll send him an email, or I might even just give him a call and see if there's any possibility that they can drive by in the car to this social and all along that line. Because I do know that they regularly go to events, and they've gone to some in Raleigh, and there have definitely been some events that they have been part of. And they're also friends with some of the regular bicycles also. So that I know some of those.
Yeah, just something fun. I mean, for the kids, and I mean, it will be fun for me too, but whatever they can do. I know it's 2 days notice, but if they can, we would appreciate it.
I would definitely reach out to them and see what their flexibility is, and if there's any possibility that they can do that. Can't make any promises, because I don't like to make promises for others and everything. But I can definitely reach out and ask them, and I will gladly do that with no problem at all and everything. But as we head out the door, I'm gonna get you and the listeners get a little bit hungry, because like I said, every time I see this commercial, and the food I got is a salad this time, but I am not a vegan by any measure, because I do love my chicken and fish and other meat products and all along those lines. But every time that I see this vegan commercial, I sit there going like, that might not convert me, but it's definitely making me hungry, because it all looks delicious, even though this is a strictly vegan dessert. And like I said, you'll see the company, and I can't remember the lady's name off the top of my head, but it is mentioned in this particular commercial. And like I said, if there are similar things that you want to send me off that email that I gave you, we'll gladly play them on some of the other shows that I do as well. But let's check out what she's all about, and then get on out the door.
All right.
Hi, my name is Maria Jones, baker and owner of Very Vegan, a premier mobile bakery specializing in putting a plant-based spin on some of your favorite desserts. Inspired by my own personal experience with my journey with healthier eating habits, I was determined to make comparable items with desirable textures and great taste. We're always experimenting with different flavor profiles and expanding our menu. I enjoy my creative license, as well as imparting ideas and requests from my customers. It makes for new and exciting items. Some of our customer faves are the specialty cheesecakes, such as the banana pudding with homemade vegan vanilla wafers, strawberry crunch, honey bun, fruity pebbles, peach cobbler, and many others. We also offer moist, rich cupcakes, delectable cookies, decadent brownies, and scrumptious pound cake. Discover how amazingly delicious vegan can be. I I am available for orders, or you can purchase my items exclusively at the Black Farmers Hub.